I'm trying to live until I die. Come connect, you know it's a lewd state of mind. Yeah. Talking traveling, if you wanna fly. Fitness and finance, living a better life. Keep it raw, no filter. Living with no limit. Thank you for tuning in. Come on, let's get it.
Afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for coming down today. Welcome to Lord Studios. What do you think?
Incredible.
You like it?
Want one. How much do they cost?
I don't know. I haven't done the figures on it.
This place is ridiculous.
It's my big man cave.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And I love having people like you sitting here opposite me. We're going to have a good chat today. Do you want to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Tim Clement. And I guess for the context of this podcast, I'm the creator of the Non-Operative podcast. So
yes, check it out on Spotify.
One of your rivals in the sector, but very niche mine. My podcast largely focuses on finding the best recovery options for people who suffer ACL injuries.
So explain what an ACL injury is to us, please.
Yeah, so for those who are lucky enough not to have experienced one, it might feel a bit of a very niche, flippant kind of subject to talk about, like why you create a podcast about this very specific thing. The reason why is because of the impact it has on so many people that play sport. It's called the Anterior Cruciate Ligament. So crucial is one of the things that people, I guess, see it as, and it obviously does play a very crucial role in your knee as stabilizing, one of the key functionalizing stabilizers in your knee, one of 4 ligaments in it. I've had the displeasure of becoming an expert in this field from a patient perspective of rupturing my ACL in both knees.
Oh, both?
Yeah, not at the same time. That would be pretty bad. The first time was about 10 years ago playing football, and ruptured my ACL, tore my meniscus, all but ruptured my MCL, and had surgery after that and returned to sport 15 months later for more punishment. And then about 6-7 years ago, I ruptured my ACL in my other knee.
Wow.
And that led me on a journey of going, fuck that. If I can avoid surgery again and going for all that tedious rehab, and I'm going to try and find a way. And I knew a guy that had played without an ACL for 12 seasons, best player on my team when I was probably if there was a prime of my career, when I was in my 20s. And that kind of just popped into my mind. I was like, I need to find out about this. Is this possible? And it kind of led me on to this journey of creating this podcast to not necessarily tell people an answer, but ask the question that hadn't really been asked in the world, really, of is there an alternative pathway to ACL reconstructive surgery? I followed that one. I've lived it out myself, and I won't spoil the ending, but it's led me to speak to more people that have been through that injury, and it's a highly prevalent injury. I'd say I try to find some specific data on this about what the injury that keeps people out for the longest period of time collectively from their sports, right? So like hamstring injuries, thigh injuries, they're all very prevalent, but they don't keep you out for 9 to 12 months. And for a lot of people in their careers, in terms of maybe they could have returned to sport, but they don't because they don't want it to happen again. They're scared. So it's a huge issue in sport. It's an even bigger issue in women's sport, which is obviously increasing in its professionalization and people pushing their bodies a lot harder. Women up to 8 times more likely to experience an ACL rupture to men playing sport. So it's definitely felt that there wasn't enough questions being asked about, was there not a better way than cutting someone's knee open, putting an artificial ligament in there and sending them on their way to be in a high risk situation of either re-rupturing their now fake ligament or just quitting sport altogether, which is obviously a really sad outcome for people that love sport.
Before we delve into that, because we've got a lot. I mean, just on that opening paragraph, we've got a lot to chew on.
Yep.
But we've got to keep the sponsors happy, right?
Yeah.
You've heard about Buckfast. Look at your eyes just.
I've never tried it though.
Your eyes just lit up, and of course you're from UK.
Yeah, but I've never had it. I don't think I've had it.
But where were you born and bred?
London and then Leeds.
Okay, I'm pretty sure this was brought from the French to England, and is now produced in England. It was actually manufactured by monks.
Yeah.
But a lot of Irish, Scottish, English, they love it. Now, our sponsors at Chapel Street Cellars, Joe and Rob, they help us out. So we've got to have a toast to them and to ourselves and to Buckfast. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
That is good.
15% alcohol.
I was going to say it's got a kick there.
Yeah, not a big kick, but very smooth, and it's great on ice.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Would you mix it with anything?
No,
you need to
well,
do.
if you want to double down, you could put a Red Bull with it. it's already got more caffeine than a Red Bull in it.
Yeah.
But no, just on ice. Just on ice. There are actually a lot of recipe ideas in that on the website. I haven't delved into it. But yeah, it is. I mean, as far as sponsors goes, thank you very much. I'll take that every day of the week.
Yeah.
We're still trying to get Asahi on board, but we've given up on them. It's a little bit hard. Hey, now the reason why you're sitting here was you got the Kennedy's Health and Fitness shirt. You approached me in the gym, and the reason why you approached me was probably because I had a knee brace on. Is that correct?
No, it's because I knew you had your own podcast.
Oh,
I'd seen
right.
it pop up because I'd seen your interview with the guys
Danny?
from Kennedy, yeah, and Kelly, yeah. So I was watching that, and through my process of creating a podcast, I kind of want to learn from other people. Probably, I went through the stage of creating a load of content and interviews, and I've been lucky to interview a lot of really interesting people. But the kind of production side of it and the marketing side of it was probably where I run out of a bit of energy. I have a job, a young kid, and so the opportunity to speak to someone else who has a podcast is always a good learning experience for me.
Well, as we were just talking about before, the hardest thing is to get the guests in, and whether it's over Zoom or whether it's sitting next to you. I mean, my concept here was always going to be an in-house experience, so we don't do the Zoom. And I think with the Zoom, it can sometimes feel a little bit disjointed. But I just wanted my guests to sit opposite me, eye to eye, experience what we're experiencing, and have a nice relaxed environment so that we can draw out those stories and that information and that just anything that's going to add value to somebody's life. So that was the process. With regards to the architecture of the equipment that we've got, we've had a lot of good help with that. It's the one thing with a podcast is sound quality. If you don't have a good sounding podcast and it sounds like you've recorded it in the toilet, people aren't going to digest it. It's very awkward. So that was very important to us to make sure that we've got, and we're still constantly working on that, trying to get that balance and get everything right.
Yep.
But we've got you can see the studio. It's a really nice setup in here. We've had a lot of help with it, and it's a really comfortable environment. So, but as I said, the hardest thing to make content is to get somebody to help you make content. You know, I don't think that I could sit here in front of a camera and talk for a certain period of time and people would want to digest what I have to say. Oh, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I do have a lot of life experience, and I know with a little bit of experience how to draw information out of our guests. And the good thing about the concept or the format is it's not an interview. We're just sitting there having a couple of drinks, having a beer, and having a chat. You know, and as I said, if we can draw some information that our listeners can use and digest, job done. Tick tick boom. So I've had to listen to yours. You've had some great guests on there, very informative. So if we break it back down again, I don't like to use the word break or rupture. So
I'll take a break.
I actually thought you were coming up to me because I damaged my knee. So long story short, we were snowboarding in Italy. My son didn't see me, I didn't see him, and he basically bent my knee inside out. So it was about 40 minutes. Have we got we'll show you a little video in a minute, but it was about 40 minutes with my knee bent and my kneecap dislocated.
Oh, I don't think I want to see this. I got a football match on Sunday.
Well, no, the video is pretty benign, but it was a harrowing experience because I thought it was worse than what it was.
Yeah,
and it was only when after 40 minutes that they finally stretched my leg out that my knee cap popped back over, and put me in a brace. But the video that we've got of getting off the mountain was just as harrowing as the experience of being injured on the mountain.
Yeah.
So I did the MCL, which is, for those people that don't know, it's the inside ligament on the knee. So if you stand up, it feels like the knee wants to collapse inside, which is a fucking horrible feeling. So so if we're talking about that as opposed to the ACL, the ACL is actually in the center of the leg, isn't it? So it runs off the femur through into the tibia, onto the top of the tibia. Is that correct? It is the tibia. So it's actually connected. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's connected to the bone. So it's part of. So the end of the ligament. Is fused into the bone. Is it part? Can you explain?
No, absolutely not. From the technical perspective, and I think one of the big things that I have set out on this is not to try and be the expert from a medical perspective. I'm by no means going to tell people how an ACL functions and all that. I've got basic understanding of it, having lost a couple of them. But really, I guess function-wise, it doesn't play a very active part in your movement. It's like a bit of a seatbelt.
It's like holding it together, holding the two bones.
So I guess the reason why you can and people have function without them is because it plays a backup role. So if your muscles are firing well and your other ligaments are working well, then it doesn't tend to do much. Hey,
mate, sorry, just before we go on any further, Mav, do you want to bring up a pic of just the knee anatomy? There'll be I've got one in front of me on my laptop. We'll pull it up on screen because once again, I didn't know anything about how my knee worked. I knew I had a kneecap. I knew I got a femur and because I've actually got a rod that runs down my tibia, my fibia. Which one's the big one? The fibia. Tibia is the big one down there, and I didn't understand how they got it down there. So I don't know whether they had to pull it apart to get the rod down the end of the bone. So you can see there, it's Anterior Cruciate Ligament, the ACL, which comes from the femur bone and connects to the top of the tibia, which they call the shin bone.
Yep.
So that's the most common. You were saying the most common sports injury.
So I reckon it would, in terms of the period, the collective mass period that it keeps people on the sidelines, it must be right up there in terms of injury impacting people's playing time, careers and stuff. When you do get an ACL injury out for 9 months, right? There's no other injury that really is close to that. You break your leg, you probably don't have close to that time. You pull your hamstring, depending on the grade. Same for a lot of injuries, where the ACL is just it's the biggest fear that anyone that plays sport probably should have in terms of ending your season. And one of the interesting things I guess I challenged in my own experience was it's pretty much unknown for anyone to rupture the ACL in a season and play that same season. So you'll see immediate.
So when you say rupture, we're talking about a complete separation,
complete discontinuation. So the image you've got there is not fully, I guess, ruptured because it's still touching.
So it says it's a
there.
tear. Yeah. So
it's torn. So it'd be like a grade 3 tear, but a rupture is complete discontinuation. So the two ends aren't touching anymore.
So how do they grade them?
By the amount of the tear, yeah. So it's grade 1, it would just be a small rip.
So it's grade 1, grade 2, grade 3?
Yeah.
And then a full tear?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, which is where you'd call it a rupture, yeah.
Because my MCL was grade 2, so it was a tear.
Yeah.
And I presume...
Baby injury for us in the ACL rupture space.
Yeah, well, look, I'm just baby steps, man.
Yeah. But it does result in more... lack of stabilization, probably. So you experience less stability in your knee after a grade 2 tear of your MCL than I did after my rupture of my ACL.
Oh, really?
So 5 days after I ruptured my ACL, I was in Kennedy's gym squatting, right? I didn't know I'd ruptured my ACL. I just thought I'd hurt my knee in some twisted it or something had been strained or something. So I was back in the gym.
No swelling. There was no swelling.
There was swelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a mess, and I had this Baker's cyst, which basically all the swelling and stuff goes into the back of your knee and creates this like hard lump.
Oh, nice.
That was actually the most uncomfortable part of it. The actual rupture of the ACL, a lot of people will not know ever they've ruptured their ACL. I'm not saying that their knee is great, but that if they haven't had the MRI scan or what they call a Lockman's test, they wouldn't know that that ACL has fully ruptured. They just know there's something wrong with their knee. Like, so they might think they've damaged their meniscus, they might think they've strained something. But a lot of people have had scans like a year later for something else, and they've discovered that their ACL's ruptured. So
Still ruptured. Like you can have a ruptured knee and still function.
Yeah.
Because as you say, my MCL just made me feel like my leg was collapsing inside. It was fucking horrible. It was a horrible feeling.
Yeah. I had that when I did my first knee injury. So both knee injuries, I've damaged my MCL, but the second one was, that's why I say just a grade 2, was a grade 2 on my left knee. The first one was all but torn, so a grade 3, torn to like a tiny little thread of left over there. That was able to heal naturally because the ends hadn't severed. And that knee was like, I remember getting out of the shower after the game, and I didn't think my knee was too bad because the pain disappears quite soon after the injury, because you're essentially the nerves have been torn away as well. So when it ruptures, the nerves tear apart, so they're not touching each other anymore, so they can't cause you any pain.
Yeah. Had you been drinking after the game?
I drank after that. I told my partner that I'd gone to the hospital. Instead, we drank about 7 pints, and then hobbled back in. So
it's such a bloke thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah,
she'll be right, mate.
Yeah,
no worries. Let's
I'll
drink
see how it
it
is
away.
in the morning. Yeah.
A good recommendation is beer and anti-inflammatories. That's a good. That's a good trip.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it, but it is good. It's good.
Yeah. I don't think I took. I know I definitely did take some ibuprofen, because initially I was like, the pain is so bad, but it goes pretty quickly, and then you're like, oh, I'm all right. I mean, both times. Well, the first time I did it, I was like, I'll probably be able to come back on. And then they're like, nah, Tim, you rest up, mate. And then I got voted. We went to the pub afterwards, and we used to do the award Man of the Match and Dick of the Day. So
did you get both of them?
I definitely didn't get Man of the Match because it was about 5 minutes into the first game of the season. So this was like 10 years ago. So I got Dick of the Day for going down like I'd been shot, even though no one had touched me. And a guy actually stood over me and was like, you dived, get up.
Get up, your pussy.
Yeah, literally. And that was my motivation for my rehab. I was like, I'm going to play against that guy again. And I'm going to fucking break his leg. Don't know if you've heard of Roy Keane. But
so we're talking about we're talking about soccer.
Yep.
Football.
Yeah.
It's not really a gentleman's game, is it?
Nah, it's a lot worse when you play your Sunday league than when you watch it on TV. On TV, everyone's like, oh, they're diving around everywhere. But you have reason to dive around normally when you play Sunday league. I mean, I play over 35s now, which standard-wise is probably not that less competitive than playing open ages, because none of the people are playing over 35s that are crap anymore.
So that's masters now. That's what it's.
Yeah. So it's a good standard, but people have developed a few brain cells by this stage.
Yeah.
And they tend to not dive in as much and try and hurt each other. We tend to have a bit more respect for each other.
Yeah.
So it was masters did money. Both times no non-contact injuries, so just planted my foot, twisting, and then bomb. And the second time, actually, someone also stood over me and told me to get up. So, again, motivation. And I'll tell you how that panned out. That was last weekend. We played them again. Didn't end up with me breaking someone's legs, but it was a good outcome.
Hey, let's look at this video that I was telling you about.
Oh, is this the...
This is after about 45 minutes.
Do you want it from the start?
On the mount. Yeah, from the start, mate. 45 minutes. 45 minutes from the...
I think the expression sums it up nicely.
So there's play that, man. So there's my leg. They had a splint.
Oh.
So they pulled it out, popped the knee back in, got me in a splint, but they didn't have a sled off the back of the skidoo. So they had to prop me up there, and I swear to God we were going to tip over on the way down. And there you go. There's the look on my face. Absolute disgust. That was day 3 of 10. So,
you did a lot of drinking.
well, what
7
else,
days in
what
there.
else are you going to
Yeah.
do in Italy apart from eat pizza and drink brewskis?
Yeah.
So that was So I've never had a knee injury. So, like, I played football as a kid, like yourself, from an early age. Had a hip replacement at about 42, which they attributed to that. Just that the planting of the foot,
Yeah.
with the damage of the hip.
Yeah, you're 42. Your body's gonna, if you've used it,
Exactly.
should be getting worn out.
And
Better than your heart's in your lung.
And I've never had anything. My knees have been fine.
Yeah.
And to have that injury sort of just, and as I said, with the feeling of it collapsing on itself, it was pretty unnerving. And I'm old enough and ugly enough now to know that you don't rush back from these things. You don't go back to doing like you were doing, squatting in the gym 2 days after the fact. So yeah, we're 6 weeks in now. It's coming back.
Yep.
And hopefully within another 2 or 3 weeks we'll be able to start to load it up. But that's my knee story. But
Yeah.
back to you. So the first one, how old were you when you did your first ACL? And that was did you say it was a full rupture?
Yeah. Both have been full ruptures. I think I was 29. Might have just turned 30. So for me, it was like, right, I'm never going to be quick again. As a winger, it was pretty annoying because I was like, it's probably my final season before I know I'm going to start slowing down. And pace was a big part of my game. So, it was pretty devastating when that happened. And to know that they called it the kind of trifecta in terms of doing the full ACL, MCL, and meniscus damage. So I'd really fucked up my knee.
So the meniscus, have you got is there another image there, Mav, that shows the meniscus is the top of the tibia, and it's like a cushion.
Yeah, basically the shock absorber between the tibia and fibia of your knee. Again, don't ask me to get too technical. That's not
That's right. So
not what I bring to the game.
So the disclaimer is that you're not a healthcare professional. You're not a surgeon.
No.
You are somebody that's experienced injuries.
Yeah, and I would never have come up to you in the gym and said to you about, or attempted to give you advice. I don't give people advice on their knee injuries. Tell people about my experience and then hold it up against evidence, really, I guess. So even though I've been through the non-operative pathway and can say some amazing things about how much better it was than having surgery, whenever people often reach out to me, on social media, how did you get back to sport? How did you avoid surgery? I'll never, ever, a conscious thing, advise them whether they should have surgery or not. That has to be their decision, but their informed decision. And that's the bit that's missing at the moment, is the informed decision-making that people aren't able to make, because the pathway that exists for them is that they suffer an ACL injury. This is in the context of Australia, okay? They suffer a knee injury. They'll go to their doctor to get an MRI scan. So a doctor will then refer them to get an MRI scan, because then they can get bulk billing. So
Yes.
you're not going to book yourself in for an MRI scan unless you want to pay full price.
Well, the thing is, I don't think you can. I think you have to go through to your
Yeah.
doctor to get the referral.
Yeah.
So sorry, continue. Yeah.
And then you get that MRI scan, and they'll ask you, who do you want it sending to? And you go, my doctor, presumably, because I trust my doctor to give me the results of that. They'll have written up an assessment of your MRI scan themselves and then give it to the doctor to translate to you as a patient. Okay, and they'll tell you, as happened to me a year ago, almost to the day, that you've ruptured your ACL, and here is the card of an orthopedic surgeon, which you can talk to about your options. Okay, options being, and what a lot of surgeons will say, and if you Google this, probably more so a couple of years ago, but still so, can I return to sport without an ACL, with a ruptured ACL? And typically, it will be, you need surgery, right? If you want to run in straight lines the rest of your life, then you can not have an ACL. But if you want to twist and turn, do pivoting sports, the best thing to do is to have surgery.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Australia's got the most ACL surgeries per capita in the world. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that something that we should be proud of?
Again, I don't give advice on the right decision, but I wouldn't be boasting about it, particularly from an economical perspective for a country and for the perspective of the specific patients that might have returned to sport without having to have intrusive surgery on their knee and return to what they were doing. And a lot of people, you've got to bear in mind, they suffer ACL injuries. They don't want to return to competitive sport in a twisting, pivoting environment. But that doesn't mean that this is where the message gets a bit blurry. So for those who don't want to play a pivoting sport, I'd almost always say, like, surgery really isn't necessary. If it's a straight ACL rupture and you're not in any day-to-day discomfort, you should be able to rehab that knee and see how it goes, right? For those who do want to return to sport, exactly the same. Rehab the knee and see how it goes. That's what I did. And if you then are having problems with your knee, then, oh my God, the worst thing that's going to happen to you is you're going to have surgery. So you've not lost anything other than maybe, a month or two, but you're rehabbing anyway. And there's a lot of people out there that advocate for, even if you are going to have surgery, you should do rehab before your surgery, strengthen those muscles back up, because you get a lot of muscle atrophy when you have the injury. You've probably seen it in your...
Yeah.
You definitely would have seen it being in a brace, but you'll see it even if you weren't in a knee brace, your muscles will deteriorate very quickly. It's the body's reaction to the injury to protect it so you don't go running around on it. Because there is, regardless of which way you go, there is a recovery period that's required. There is a caveat to that, and there's an example of a athlete that we can go into a bit later, but remind me on that. But so people that just do rehab, and there's a study that you can refer to on this that's pretty much has shown that return to sport rates are exactly the same whether people are having surgery or not. And this is returning to competitive sport, pivoting sports. But the really cool thing that's happening now, that there's a lot of grey there, right? And I've probably not convinced people particularly.
We'll break it down. We'll break it down.
But the really exciting thing that's happening now is the research that's coming out about ACL healing naturally, which previously everyone in the medical industry has said is impossible for your ACL to heal because there's not sufficient blood flow, and the two ends of the ACL that have pulled apart.
That was going to be my question. So a full rupture. My question was, how do they join back up again? How does that happen?
Yeah, I mean the same way as when you rupture.
Apart from, but even with surgery, they're not joining.
No.
They're not joining it together.
No, they're taking out your previous ligament and they're putting in a tendon, most commonly hamstring tendon now. There's more research on the tendon types than there is actually on surgery or not. It's the general surgical sector is so dismissive of the non-operative pathway that there is so little research about it. And there's actually basically no research that would stand up to real proper scrutiny in the medical world to suggest that ACL surgery is the right pathway, right? It's basically just been adopted as the go-to way because the people that do the surgery are the people that make decisions around whether the surgery is happening or not, right? It's a shut shop. It's a closed.
Yeah. Well, they're selling a product and a service.
Yeah.
It's the same with selling tires down the road.
Yeah. If there's no competitors, and
or they're
just going to start telling you need new tires rather than
they may not be completely worn, but hey, we recommend you get a set of 4. It's so talking about surgery. You were saying about the hamstring graft. We've got a little video for our listeners, probably more so for our viewers, about how they actually do the surgery. Maybe you want to bring that one up. So this is the hamstring, as you said, the hamstring graft.
That's what I had in my right knee. But I've never seen anything like this. I purposely didn't watch anything when I was having my surgery because I didn't really want to.
Today's your lucky day, mate. This is exactly what happened.
ACL reconstruction, hamstring graft method. This surgery replaces a torn anterior cruciate ligament. We call it the ACL. The replacement is made from part of your hamstring tendon. To begin, you're put to sleep.
That's a good
small
start.
incision is made to reach the
Hopefully.
hamstring. Parts of this tendon are removed. They are braided together to form your graft. Next, small openings are made in your skin. One is for an arthroscope.
You're
That's a
picking up on the
small video
terminology
device
always.
that lets the
Small
surgeon
openings,
see
minor
inside your
incisions.
knee.
The language is
The
very
others are for
interesting.
surgical instruments. The surgeon clears away the torn ACL. Then, tunnels are drilled in the bones of your knee. The graft is pulled into position and secured. As the new graft heals, it will strengthen. When the procedure is done, your
Yeah, I think
knee
that's
is
about it,
permanently
Matt. That's the end of that one.
stabilized.
Yeah, it's
Your
it's
washed
pretty
over-
interesting how they drill those holes in your bones, so that your ACL naturally is connected to the bone.
Yeah, it's pretty intrusive. Like I guess I'm saying that, and I always wary of sounding like loaded and subjective on it because it is quite a divisive subject. But I've done both, right? I've had a successful ACL reconstruction of my right knee, and I've had the non-operative.
So the first injury was a surgery.
Yep.
The second
My
one,
ACL. So the surgeon, and I had a great surgeon, right? And he even said to me, it came back to me after my second injury. He went, he wanted to give it 3 months. I was lucky I had private healthcare at the time, and in the UK, that's a big thing between going on the NHS waiting list versus having private cover. And I got a surgeon who had a history in sports, working with athletes. So he was probably dealing with me was probably a low point for him, but as a Sunday league footballer. But he said, we'll let the MCL heal naturally because you have got some attachment there. So as long as we'll check it when we get to in 3 months' time, we'll check it's fully healed. Because sometimes with the MCL, not to scare you, but the laxity can still not be as tight as it was originally.
Yep.
So it doesn't fully get to the same kind of tightness. So we went through that, and they said, we'll reconstruct your ACL because that won't heal, and we'll repair your meniscus because that won't heal. And then I always remember, went back to see him, and I'd been doing my prehab. I had my favourite ever gym experience during this prehab. So I had I was in the gym, and
this is in the UK or here?
yeah, in the UK, yeah. Yes, I've lived there 5.5 years. Okay. So this was in the UK. Actually, this experience wasn't prehab, it was after it. But I was doing my prehab, doing my squatting and stuff. And it's really important that you kind of build those muscles up quickly because my right leg was a bag of shit. Like, it was so weak, so floppy. I had a knee brace on for the entire time. And even though I was doing the gym work, you realize how little impact gym work has compared to your just natural moving around, because all the gym work I was doing, lifting all these weights, my legs still was not getting anywhere back to as strong and as firm the muscles as they were before the injury. So so we got to the point of surgery, and he kind of did a test for my MCL laxity, and he was like, yeah, your MCL laxity's good, so we'll just do surgery on your ACL and your meniscus, repair them, and then you got 12 months for recovery to do. And
so the surgery was how long after the
3 months after the injury.
Okay.
Yeah, because they wanted to give it the time for the MCL to heal, because they didn't want me coming out and rehabilitating with still an injured MCL. Because you can't really do so much with you got to keep a knee brace for your MCL, and you don't want to be rehabbing a knee brace. Whereas with an ACL injury alone, you can rehab without a knee brace.
Yep.
Because typically, if you've done good prehab, your legs can have the stability to function without a knee brace required. And he said to me when I kind of came around, he's like, oh yeah, surgery went well. You've got some of the longest hamstring tendons I've ever seen. I don't know what that means.
He's trying to pick you up, mate.
I know,
Saying
yeah.
you got sexy legs.
Yeah, 6. No,
So you had
he just cut them off.
You had the same operation as we just showed our viewers.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
'Cause there's
Plus a meniscus repair.
Yeah, because there's another way to do it. There's a patella where they take it from your patella tendon.
Yeah.
Same but different. So
I think it's almost exactly the same. Yeah, just taken it from a different part of your knee.
Yeah.
Or part of your leg, sorry. And he said to me, but the ACL was still ruptured. And I can still remember thinking, well, of course it was still ruptured. ACLs can't heal. and but it's interesting to me that he's even mentioned it, because at that stage, and generally what I hear and understand from most people, particularly in kind of doctors and surgeons, is the ACL can't heal. There is no way for it to heal because the blood supply is not good enough. The two ends are too far apart once they've ruptured. But the amazing thing now is like they're finding ways, and this is the beauty, when people have incentive to learn and try and develop, and they find new ways, better ways, right? And now people are looking into how we can encourage the ACL to actually heal itself. So one of the guests I had on my podcast was Dr. Stephanie Philbay, and she's a real leading researcher in the field around ACL recovery from a non-operative perspective. She did a follow-up paper on this, the trial I cited earlier, which showed equal return sport rates. It was called the Canon, I think it's pronounced Canoon trial. It was a Scandinavian research that basically compared people who had gone operatively versus non-operatively, and showed that they were basically returning to sport at the same rate. And she did a follow-up paper on that, and they did some research to find out that actually 30% of those people had healed ACLs. So the ACLs had either they'd reattached or they'd attached themselves to the PCL, which is the kind of the other one of the other four ligaments in there, to give stability to the knee. So the knee finds a way, basically. You know, don't mean to quote Jurassic Park, my favorite movie of all time, but I think that's probably one of the big messages that has come across, and it is very grey for people, but that your knee and your body typically does find a way within the right encouragement. So you don't always need it cut apart.
Time frame we're talking within like a 12-month period, because as you said, your surgeon said after 3 months that your ACL was still torn.
No, he said, was
still ruptured.
Yep.
It wasn't even close to getting back together. It wasn't doing anything. But these studies are showing, you're saying, after a 12-month period, which would be the same recovery period as if you had surgery, that they're finding a way to mend themselves. So to knit back together.
Yeah, not exactly. So that was a follow-up study. So I'm not sure exactly what time period she did that study on. But what they're working on now is a bracing protocol that
I listened to that podcast briefly.
So they lock the knee in a certain angle, and then that encourages, because the two ends of the ligament are closer together, encourage them, enhanced chance of them healing. And
so at the rate of the bent knee, are we talking 90 degrees is better than straight, or is it straight?
No, straight's the worst. So they start at your initially, I think, for the first 4 or 6 weeks, locked into a 90 degree, so you're pretty much a wheelchair, and then they gradually open it up and they gradually expose you to more rehab. And then at about the 3-month mark, things when they typically do the follow-up MRIs on people, and that's when they discovered, and this is huge, they discovered that 90% of those patients had some degree of healing in their knee.
That's using the brace method.
Yeah, using
is there a term for it, or is there a name for it? Or?
It's the cross-bracing protocol, is that specific one. So it was initially developed by, I forgot the son's name. Mervyn Cross was the dad, and I think he recently sadly passed away. He was a quite famous surgeon, and I think he worked for the Sydney Roosters, or one of the Sydney sports teams. I'm not very good at following Australian sports still, but he did a lot of surgery, and he kind of came up with the point. It's like, there must be a better way of this. And his son, he basically passed on that to his son, who was a physio, and was like, we need to look into this. Is there a better way for people that primarily initially at the time was people that don't want surgery, which is a really interesting bit, because I never really understood that. Like, surgery, you go to sleep, you wake up and something's happened, right? Surgery process never bothered me. But for a lot of people, it's a big thing. So that's why they kind of started investigating. Is there a way we can get people back to doing what they do without having to have surgery? Some people are allergic to the word I can never pronounce, anesthetics.
Anesthetic. Yeah. Well, some people have big problems with it. As you say, for me, I've had many surgeries, and I love going under, because I know when I wake up, everything's going to be fixed, But as you say, there are people that can't go through that process.
Yes.
So we were talking about the brace method. You also said rehab. So we're not just putting a patient in a brace
Yep.
and just leaving them there, and you're not so rehab for something like that. If they're 4 to 6 weeks into their injury, what are they doing? Are they getting taken out of the brace? Are they getting dry needle? Are they getting massage? What's the process of the rehab during this process of healing?
Yeah. So I did a episode with a patient who went through this process. So you can listen to that one on the podcast. She talked through the process we talked to her about.
It's the one that got hurt in Japan.
Yes. And then
I heard her say Niseko. It's like, because we've been to Niseko many times, and it's like, oh, now I'm interested.
yeah, it was quite a funny one because she got nudged also by a family member, her husband, who is and it was kind of, I was throughout the whole episode I was trying to draw the line myself on prodding too much on this one, but her husband's part of the surgical industry in terms of he's an anaesthetist. And was very much, when I spoke to her before the episode, she was like, he was very much against it. He was like, oh, it's just nonsense. Like, you're wasting your time. He was the one that not nudged her skis, resulting in her ACL rupture. And now she's been through this process. I'm sure they have some very interesting dinner conversations about it.
Well, he's got a vested interest in the surgery, hasn't he? Because they make a shit ton of money.
If anyone's anyone's dependent on surgeries,
he's the most important person in the room.
Yeah,
it's like, don't let me die, dude. Do your job right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I tried not to play on that, and I do try when I do all these interviews not to make it too much about the money, the surgeon's vested interests and stuff. But at some points you do have to call it out and discuss it, because it is the reason why not enough investigation's been done into better outcomes for patients or better processes for patients, and is the reason why I definitely believe that a lot of people are having surgery that they really don't need to have and being put on the sidelines for periods that they shouldn't be on.
The healthcare system's flawed. I mean, you look at the amount of people that are on drugs that they don't need to be on drugs. I mean, we had Vicky Gomez in here a couple of days ago, nutritionist, and it's like all these people with all these ailments don't need to be on medication. It was as simple as changing diet and changing habits, and it's like the healthcare system. And there's plenty of documentaries on Netflix and that, like about OxyContin and all these things that are just lining people's pocket. It's all about cash, and as you say, break it down, call it what it is. ACL surgeries are making money for people. It's as simple as that. And from the outside,
$7 billion in the US. So if you translate to, you can't do a like for like because they have different healthcare models. But in Australia, that's population wise and stuff, you're talking over $500 million spent on ACL surgery.
Do you know what an ACL surgery costs?
About $15,000 if you want to pay for it yourself. Yeah, and the waiting lists at the moment are pretty long. Apparently in regional Victoria, up to 2 years. And this again comes down to the point. It's like, why are people waiting around for surgery when they could be rehabbing, see how they go, and they might have a successful outcome in the rehab? Because people there's no one that can argue really out there that you can't have a successful outcome by just rehabbing alone if you've got, specifically for those who have got just a straight ACL rupture. There's a guy that plays basketball in America. I don't know if he still plays, but he played with 2 ACL ruptures.
Well,
no ACLs and even knee.
And as you say, if you want to keep running in a straight line, that's fine. But once you start putting load either side, that's when you start getting into trouble with these injuries. That's what you were saying earlier?
Oh, well, no, that's the ridiculous statement that there's one on YouTube. I don't want to get you sued, but there's these a certain amount of surgeons that talk about the ACL. I did actually for an interview with Dr. Stephanie Philbay, because she's a researcher. She researches and she looks in studies and critiques, I guess, opinions out there and disproves them in many senses. She's disproved the idea that a returning to sport non-operatively, so playing without an ACL, increases your risk to osteoarthritis. That was one of the big things that people used as fear-mongering. Also disproved that, and didn't necessarily just like disprove that. She didn't prove that it doesn't, but she basically destroyed the study that said that it did increase your risk to a meniscus tear. So that's a big fear that people have, is I play with an ACL, I've not got the same stability in my knee, potentially, yes, and then you do some more damage to other parts of your knee, right? And that is a very feasible concept. It does make sense if you've ruptured your ACL, even if you have surgery or not, that you've got an increased chance of having another injury, right? It just makes sense. Any injury, you've got an increased chance of having a second one. But the study they'd done was just complete bollocks in terms of they were basically just getting people that had come in, they'd ruptured the ACL, and then they'd just gone off willy-nilly, tried to do their sport again, and then done more damage to their knee. And it was like, well, no shit. They hadn't rehabbed their knee. They hadn't given it the time to recover. Even just having inflammation in your knee increases your risk of injury because your muscles don't function the same way because your inflammation is reducing the function of your muscles. So, but they use that as an argument to say you can't try and do sport without an ACL because look at all these people who have done it and now they're even more fucked. Or they'd end up having surgery anyway, so how screwed they really were was not much worse than what the position in the first place. But there wasn't really any studies out there before the one that said, equal return sport rates were there, comparing apples to apples, right? Of people going through the same injury and then not having surgery and doing really good quality rehab versus people that had the injury, had the surgery, and then done the really good quality rehab. You got to compare those two. You can't just compare people who have ruptured their ACL and then just went, oh, I'll give it a go, versus the people that had surgery and 9 months rehab, because obviously rehab's going to enhance your, building back the muscles and stuff. It's good for you. So that's what was probably missing, and she's been amazing at kind of setting that straight. And like, whatever the right answer is, we don't know it yet because the research out there isn't good enough. So we need to ask some bloody good questions and invest in some research that's not been invested in previously, because who's going to invest money in something that could potentially say that, and this is the biggest fear that the surgical industry will have, is that ACL reconstructive surgery is largely a placebo effect.
Not necessary.
For some, certainly.
You're going to be putting people out of work, aren't you? Well, not putting them out of work, but they're going to have a lot less, they're going to have a lot more time on their schedule, if people are in rehab.
Yeah.
But if we break this down...
But means the people that do need the surgery can get it quicker because they're not waiting behind the person that didn't necessarily need it.
But if you've got private medical insurance, you're going to get it pretty quickly. Is that a correct summation?
Yeah, pretty. Yep. Well, a lot quicker than someone on a...
And as you say, if surgery is an option, it only becomes an option after a certain period of time because you've got to give the knee time to settle down, the swelling to go down. You're not going straight.
No, elite athletes, you see their Instagram accounts, they rupture their ACL, next day they're smiling, thumbs up in their surgery gown. They'll just rush them straight through it.
Well, that was the question I was going to say. I was going to ask you, is that we're dealing with two groups of people here, technically, aren't we? We're talking about athletes. And
to a degree.
And we're talking about Joe Blocks.
Yeah, know where you're going. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the argue for and against falls in favour of one over the other based on their earning capacity. You said to me that an ACL injury...
Or the resale value.
Exactly. Is a 12-month recovery. With surgery, it's a 12-month recovery.
Yeah, 9 months minimum, most would say. There have been people that return within 6 months, but it's not advised because the actual tendon that replicates the ligament's function doesn't reach its full strength to 9 months.
Okay, so somebody's out game one of the AFL season. They're generally not coming back until next year with an ACL, are they?
Correct.
Now, do you know of any AFL players or any athletes that have chosen not to go through surgery and have had the success that they would have had if they had surgery? Can we quote or name anybody? Is there
Yeah.
obviously there's evidence and case studies out there, I'm just trying to get both sides of the coin because we've understood how the surgery works.
Yep.
And as you say, if I'm an elite athlete and I've got to make a paycheck, what's my best option? Is it straight away to get, as you say, straight away getting the surgery, without letting the knee settle down and really assess it,
Yeah.
But and also we talk about partial tears, we talk about full tears. You've got all these grades, so we're really discussing full tears, rupture.
Yes.
That's what we're discussing.
discussing.
So we're talking about that. Say it's what is it? 50% of all AC injuries are tears. Is there?
I don't know actually. I think a lot of them are ruptures because the ACL really comes into effect in that overextension movement. So you plant your foot, you're wearing boots, potentially hard ground. This is how I did both mine, but typically what happens, like 70% of non-contact injuries. So you plant your foot, you've been sprinting, you decelerate quickly, and your muscles probably fail to protect your knee or handle the load the way they should. Your knee overextends, your ligament then goes, shit.
So
bang,
by overextending, we're talking about the knee going backwards and your quad coming forward. So it's basically your body's going forward, pivoting. Mav, can you just do a quick Google search? Try to get us a video of an ACL incident, just so we can show how it happens to our viewers.
Yeah.
Just so they get an understanding.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, mine happened because it collapsed sideways, and that's where the MCL and the PCL holds that knee together either side, whereas we said the ACL's through the middle. So
That's often a pivoting and overextension, so that way your
that's
knee's twisted and the weight's going over the top of it.
That's how it happened to you.
And yes, both times, yeah. So they were both really abrupt change of directions, and on both instances, they're both one was both my first match of the season, so I was playing on quite hard ground, studs planting the ground, attempts to twist, and basically the torque of my legs twisting one way, kind of, I guess, beat my ligament in a sense of out strengthened it, arm wrestled it into submission, and pop, ligament rips.
Are we attributing that to the ground, or is it, or we?
It's a really interesting one where there's not too much, I guess, definitive answers to. So it makes logical sense. And actually, I bought some new football boots this season to help me out with the ACL injuries, where so your studs kind of sit in a line. I mean, basketball's not a great example because it's
Go to Troy.
if you can get an AFL
soccer.
one or a
You want
soccer
one.
or I just said soccer, sorry, or just put football in.
That went sideways.
Ooh, yeah, sideways, yeah.
Is this
more-
triggering for you?
That one, no. I probably should avoid more triggers around the ACL. I'll probably stop talking about it. We're
We're not gonna fuck you up for
I'm
life.
back playing
yeah,
now. Well, I've got a match on. You can do the Gavi one there. It was a fairly recent one. Big player for
Oh, there you
Barcelona.
go. Gavi tears ACL.
and quite innocuous when you watch it. You probably struggle initially to work out what he's actually he's done.
Antoine Griezmann in a United kit. This is Off the Sport Daily. Let's go.
Oh, let's forward through this jibber jabber.
Oh no, you might need to go back a bit to see the injury. Oh, I don't think they might not show it.
With Spanish teenage sensation Gavi diagnosed with the dreaded A word, suffering an ACL injury for Spain in their match.
The
against
dreaded
Portugal.
A word.
A visibly distraught Gavi was subbed off in the first half.
No, they're not showing it. I think sometimes when there's bad injuries, they won't show it in something like Up to Sport, which is open to kids for watching, so they wouldn't want to show it. 'Cause
I've
it could be
seen
quite
recently.
triggering.
I think last season in the AFL where somebody broke an arm or something. If you catch it when it first happens, and you go, "Oh fuck," and then they don't replay it, and then he gets carted off, and you go, "Oh, that's gonna stay in my head."
Yeah. There's a good one. If you do Neymar ACL injury, his is appropriate in like the innocuous nature of it, but you clearly see that if you've got the trained eye, you know that he's probably ruptured his ACL, just in the hyperextension of his knee. By hyperextension, you mean like basically your knee should be able to bend one way, but not,
Not
the other way. So it
Yeah,
shouldn't. And there's a really great in terms of prevention of this. There's a lot of people now are looking into it. There's a guy called Knees Over Toes guy who's doing some fantastic stuff around the education of dispelling the myth that your knee should not go over your knee. Sorry, your knee shouldn't go over your toes when you're training. And it's like when you listen to it and you go, yeah, that's fucking ridiculous. Like basketball, football, anything where you decelerate, your knee goes over your toe, but we're not meant to train that way. That's just messed up. Like, why don't we just all sit in cotton wool and just hope we perform on a Sunday? Like, it's just stupid.
Did we find that, Mav?
Yeah, I'm trying to search for them, but all the
Do you want to give a shout out to your teammates there? Who's that?
I got Luke and Jimmy there. So that was my second game back. We lost 6-1 in that game.
Well, you didn't have to tell us that.
No, 6-0, sorry.
I was going to say.
And I was awful. But yes, Aspendale Stingrays is my team. I was going to wear my jacket, but I came to the gym before I came here.
I can tell, mate. Did you do arms today, mate? Look at him.
No, I was doing a final bit of... I had a little hamstring injury. So I've been rehabbing that before our game on Sunday. So just did a light workout to keep it strengthening. But yes, and then there's obviously in the middle is the church, as I call it, the machine I lived on for a lot of months back in the gym.
The leg extension.
Yeah, I reckon I could take anyone on that with single leg.
Oh, I reckon.
Yeah, I haven't got that big of legs, but I spent a lot of months on that leg.
What can you do on the stack with 2 legs? It goes up to 100 and... You can do the whole stack.
Yeah, easy. Yeah. I can clear 100 single leg on that.
You're a fucking machine.
Well, it's rehab, like, and it's about going. My body's weak in an area, right? I'm vulnerable there. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've got to either sit on the couch and admit that my body's not up to playing sport anymore.
No.
And get pissed with the lads. Great, happy days. Or I go address that and fix it.
Get busy.
And then get busy. So 3 times a week. Not more, because people make this mistake, including my mum with her rehab from her hip surgery. Her physio's just told her to do her exercises twice a day. I'm like, why are you doing your exercise twice a day, Mum? Like, no wonder you're sore. There's no weightlifter in the world that's doing the same exercise twice a day.
No, exactly.
3 times a week to give your body the appropriate recovery time to then go 100% in your workout and go fix that problem in your body. Like,
what you're saying
it's the same.
about muscle depletion over the period. Like, I reckon my quad's probably 30% smaller than the other one now.
Yeah.
Just because of the bracing and I've only just yesterday got back onto loaded exercises.
Oh,
like
you're going to be
extension.
using up that extension machine now, aren't you, in the gym?
Yeah, but I go earlier than you. You'll be fine. I get in because that's the thing with Danny. Danny's getting too fucking popular now. There's too many people.
Yeah,
in
there
there
is. Yeah,
and you
I
got
went at 4:00 yesterday.
You
You were there, and everyone else in bloody Chelsea Heights.
It gets busier, mate. It gets busier. So I try to get there 3:30, get in and get out. But it is Danny's his own worst enemy, mate. He keeps on buying equipment.
He
every
does.
time you go in there.
I don't reckon there's
another
a gym out there with a greater range. Sound like I'm an ad here, but like the range he has of equipment.
Oh no, shout out
It's
to
not
Danny.
just one brand. It's
No.
like he has just a mishmash of everything to work every part of your body.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's good. You don't have to do this.
Yep. Are we going to run through this, Matt?
Yes.
Yep. Where are we? Is it queued up?
Yes.
All right, Neymar. I'll do a commentary. I used to be a sports journalist, so who's that on the
I
ball?
didn't know that about you, mate.
Yeah.
Got any volume?
It's quite innocuous. He lands. Yeah, see, he just lands and his foot plants there, and he twists because he's got that nudge in the back. I don't think his knee
more of a
doesn't
twist than
overextend.
a-
It's the twist.
It's a twist.
And it's that twisting stuff. So the boots I have now, right? So you think about his studs, right? They land on the ground, and typically studs are either straight down
Thanks, man.
line studs, or it's in there circular, or a lot of people wear blades now, so they're just lines that go forward.
Yeah.
So you plant your foot in the ground, right, which is great for your traction of running forwards or changing direction quickly. But if you're off balance on one leg, and then you twist under that, it puts extreme strain on your knee. Kind of like skiing in a sense of like you got so much traction in the ground, and then you got the top half of your legs twist in the other direction along with your body weight, and that really puts strain on your ACL. So some of the boots, I'll see if I can get sponsorship for Nike from this, but the Phantom Lunas they've designed, and it's interesting, they've clearly done this to reduce ACL injuries, but they've not gone like public on it, because obviously what's the worst thing that happened for them? Some ruptured their ACL wearing them, right?
Yeah.
But the design of it, they launched it just before the Women's World Cup, and as I mentioned, like women are a lot more susceptible to the ACL injuries than men due to kind of biological differences. And also probably because of the training, which we'll get into, because I think rehab training is a really important bit for prevention and also recovery. But they're kind of circular. The front 4 kind of studs run in a circle. So when your foot plants and twists,
It can pivot. Fucking brilliant.
So it takes the strain off your knee. So I started wearing them this season. So if I get another knee injury...
You're going to sue them.
Well, yeah. No. Because they didn't brand it on it, the clever buggers. They let people like me tell the story.
Yeah.
And then I get sued. But I mean, it's great that there is that happening. And yeah, particularly for the women's game, because it's the return to sport rates. There was a study done that only 55% of women that ruptured an ACL returned to sport, which is horrendously low rate.
What's the rate of men versus female?
I don't think it's that high either. I think it's more like in the 80s. There's been quite a few different studies on that, and that number varies quite a lot from what I remember. Yeah, the drop off, and then the re-rupture rate's still pretty high, particularly in young girls. They're saying as high as like 1 in 3 suffer a re-rupture to their ACL.
Ooh, fuck. It does nothing for your confidence, does it? If you know if that's in the back of your mind,
Yeah.
every time you go to train,
Yeah.
you know, you want to be putting everything in pre-season and making sure everything's tight and nice and as good as it can get. This podcast is brought to you by Holy Shirt Australia. Holy Shirt Australia are 100% online. They're Australia's largest no minimum custom print and embroidery company. All their services are completed in-house, and they can deliver all orders promptly and professionally. They like to keep it simple and straightforward, so they offer cool stuff that can be custom printed or embroidered to your liking. They have an easy-to-use online designer to build your custom apparel from the comfort of your home or office. They offer pricing that reflects your individual order, and remember, they are no minimum on all their products. They deliver what the customer expects when they expect it. They've got over 1,500 products ready for you to custom print or embroider today, right now. So head to holyshirt.com.au for all your custom clothing requirements. Define for me a geezer.
A geezer?
What's a geezer?
A geezer is he's a man about 10.
All right.
He's got a bit about him. Take care of himself. He earns a bit on the side over here, a bit on there. He's
Doesn't have a full-time job.
He's not working your classic 9 to 5. He's and if he is, he's knocking off to the pub pretty early and taking care of his business.
I've got some good friends. Shout out to I'm gonna forget their name. We're gonna have to edit this out.
Geezer.
I call him Geezer.
Geezer A and Geezer B.
I affectionately call him Geezer.
Yeah.
And I didn't know whether it was an insult or not, but that stuck. It stuck. Jesus Christ, who is that?
I don't even know.
Gavin Bex.
Gavin, yeah.
So shout out to Gavin Bex.
Gav the Geezer.
Gav the Geezer.
Beck's a geezer as well.
No, Beck's not a geezer. So
Yeah.
we met them.
He's quite gendered typically, yeah.
Yeah.
Rightly or wrongly.
So I call him. I just call him Geezer. He's in my phone, Geezer, and I thought, well, for me it's a term of endearment because I love these guys.
Yeah.
But I haven't actually heard from an Englishman exactly what it meant or whether it was derogatory or not.
Nah, there's a lot worse things you call someone geezer. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
Got a bit about him.
Good to know. Tasty beer we're on to now. Hey, we were talking in the break about ACL injuries.
Yep.
Now, you said to me that you got back to playing sport.
Yep.
4 months after your
4.5 months. Yep.
After your second ACL injury.
Yep.
Now, that ACL injury was a rupture.
Yep.
My question to you is, ACL injuries, how many of them are just purely ACL ruptures as opposed to an ACL rupture with an MCL or a PCL? Because that's gonna dictate how long you're out for. So as I said, with my MCL, that feeling of the knee collapsing in on itself is fucking horrible. Now, you've said to me that you could be back squatting with a ruptured ACL within a certain period of time. So 4.5 months is not a long time. Was that injury just an ACL?
So we refer to people who have just done an ACL as the lucky ones. In terms of, typically collateral damage is very common. You've seen the videos of how the injury happens, and it's normally there's other parts of your knee that are impacted by it. I think over 40% of ACLs involve a damage to the meniscus, so that's very common. It's also very common that your MCL, as you've experienced, is damaged. So in my first one, I got a grade 3 tear to the MCL along with the ACL, the meniscus damage in there for the trifecta of glory. For my second ACL injury, it was a milder one. So full rupture of the ACL.
But nothing else?
No, there was. So I had a grade 2 MCL injury and a grade 1 LCL injury.
Shit,
so
you don't do things by halves, do you? You've got the triple crown twice.
It's all relevant. No, that's not. No, that was because the LCL one, and like you think about your recovery period anyway. For recovering from the ACL, you're out for a long period anyway. So for a grade 2 MCL, a baby injury like yours, is gonna be just like, that's gonna just fritter away along the way. The LCL grade 1, like that's gonna fix itself in a few weeks. So while you're rebuilding your strength and stability anyway in your early stages of your ACL recovery, and particularly trying to encourage your inflammation to reduce, which isn't by using anti-inflams or even necessarily icing, two quite archaic approaches to managing injuries, because your inflammation does some very good stuff. It's your body reacting. And a lot of my process is, the way I see it is, I'm not a hippie by any means. You can probably tell that. But I definitely do believe in, supporting the body's natural ability to recover from injuries.
Oh, I totally agree.
I've learned, and I think you're the same. Is like, how can we better support our body? That's our role as our brains in our decision making, to support our body's recovery, and that's the way I've kind of approached it. Whether that's because out of desperation, because I don't have surgery again and go through another 9 months on the sidelines. You asked me before, and I think we got went off on a tangent about the kind of recovery period for the non-operative, and like if there's been any professionals that have come back from injuries in the same way about surgery. There's only one Premier League, so to me, gold standard in the world is Premier League football. And there's only been one player, to my knowledge, that's returned without having surgery on their ruptured ACL. His name was Alou Diarra. He was a France international. He was playing for West Ham at the time, and he wanted to get back in time to make the World Cup squad. He decided not to have surgery on his ACL. As with a lot of stuff, you can't compare. You'll never know if he had surgery, whether that was the better outcome, which I think was the question you'd put to me. Like, you can't compare someone's experience. You can't tell me whether I'd have been better off having surgery or not, because I didn't have surgery on my left knee. I returned without having surgery, but I haven't re-injured it. So that's the only thing we can measure on it. So for Alou Diarra, he, to our knowledge, and this has not been documented nearly close to how well it should, and my dream for my podcast is to interview Alou Diarra on it about his experience. So he returned to a behind doors training match for West Ham, a Premier League club, 8 weeks after rupturing his ACL. He was kind of out of favour. He was a bit of a kind of overpriced signing for West Ham, and the manager at the time, Sam Allardyce, didn't really like him. His nickname was Big Sam. He was a fucking geezer. Although he's from the north, so they wouldn't call him a geezer, but he's a proper geezer. And he was a no-nonsense guy, and obviously Alou Diarra rubbed him the wrong way. He ended up returning, I think he played again in the League Cup, so that's kind of, we have 2 cup competitions in England beyond the league. He played in that, I think, 3 months after his rupturing his ACL, which is still obscene timeline difference between post-surgery, and played again in the Premier League 4 months. But the reason why I mention all that about the manager, the proper geezer, is because he was out of favour at the club anyway, so he did had his injury and wasn't being selected. So we can't say, like, you know, if you're the best player at the club, right, they're going to select you as soon as possible when you're fit. Whereas this guy was kind of in and out of the team anyway, and then had the injury, and then was kind of in and out, back out of it, and then didn't play that much more for West Ham. Went and played for another club, and there's nothing documented about him ever having surgery on that knee. So that's another really interesting kind of one that led me down the pathway of curiosity. But there isn't enough people, particularly in British sport, that have followed that pathway, because we've always understood, and obviously same in Australia with its high operation rate, that ACL reconstructive surgery is absolutely required. But I guess the question is it the gold standard? Is it the best thing that to get us back to where we were before? And I think the big answer that I'd say is no, it's not gold standard. It's not a silver bullet. It's not guaranteed to get you back to the level you were before. A lot of people who have surgery really struggle to return to the levels. And I know from my operation, my right leg, that leg was really weak for a very long time after surgery. Was surgery necessary on that leg? Potentially, yes, because of the complex nature of my injury, which goes back to your question about, you know, the different types of severity of the injury. And it is very common that people do have complex issues with the knee. But yeah, there's a Facebook group that I'm part of now. There's over 20,000 members that's dedicated to people returning to sport non-operatively. And huge range of people in that who have suffered all sorts of injury types, complex ones in terms of beyond just your ACL. So meniscus damage, like me, multiple ligament injuries that have returned back to what they were doing before. I interviewed a guy that's his aspiration now. He's a trail runner, and he's doing his aspiration, and he attempted to do recently was a 200-kilometer run. He did about 140 before his feet just were blistered to fuck and he couldn't run anymore. ACL, didn't notice, not everyone. He, like me, has never had any MRI scans follow up to find out whether his ACL had healed. So to his knowledge, same as me, we've had no healing, but we might have. The point being on that is, and this is the bit that confuses people, is like, whether you have healing or not, it's about your knee function, right?
Of course.
So you've seen me in the gym, I hop around, I run around, I sprint, change direction. Does it matter whether my ACL is healed? Because my knee functioning well? Am I strong? Am I quick? Can I change direction at the same speed as I could before? 100% yes. And it's the same for all these people that I've interviewed and spoken to. They've returned to full function without having ACL surgery.
Well, you can still drive a car on 3.5 tyres. So if one of them's half flat, you can still drive it, can't you? It's the same principle.
Yeah.
You've got all these other moving parts in your knee, and as long as they're functioning,
yeah,
you're saying the ACL's not necessarily required. I'll put a question to you, though. If I paid for you to get another MRI on that knee, would you do it?
So actually, interesting, I was thinking about doing this for my podcast. I was like, because I don't want to pay for one. I thought about paying it for myself, and I was like, it doesn't make any difference to me. I'm still going to play football.
Aren't you curious?
Play football.
Aren't you
so
curious?
I'm curious, but it will, to a degree. And if someone did, I mean, you're not meant to have. It's not meant to be great for you, is it, having MRI scans, because you're exposed to.
Well,
no, is that just
is
that X-rays? I don't know. Either way,
because they can't do it with an ultrasound, can they? It's got to be MRI. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, and even that, they say there's a lot of issues with the imaging anyway. So there's been a lot of misdiagnosis through MRI scans. So a lot of physios would potentially, I think I've heard a few say, we'd always rather do the manual testing on a person and their functionality than look at an image of their knee.
Physios are great in that respect, where they can, it's like with the doctor that took my knee and just and twisted it in and understood that the MCL wasn't working as it should do.
Yeah.
I take my hats off
Yeah.
to them, and as you say, the physios that are dealing with body function. You know,
Yeah.
I go to my osteo, and I've been to my osteo since I've had my injury, and it's not just about the failure of the MCL, it's about the calf, it's about the quad, it's about
Yes,
the
a holistic
movement
approach,
of the
right?
movement of the patella, and it's about cause and effect because.
Yep.
If I'm taking the weight off one leg and I'm putting on the other one, it puts strains on my glutes,
Exactly.
and then so you've got all these things trying to function together.
Yeah.
And if you've got one not working as it should, or you're lame because you've got to be in a brace, you know, you've got that cause and effect, and that's the beauty about what they do and their treatment of it. A lot of people don't even, they just don't think of it that way.
No, I work my calves really hard in the gym because I know that's that first impact point. That's why I think a lot of people have injuries on the slopes because the calf is taken out of the as a protection method because your foot's locked in, so your calf isn't really able to do anything.
There's a lot of people
straight away goes straight into your knee, right? And then
there's a lot of people that skip leg day, mate,
oh yeah,
and they fucking should.
I'm glad they do because it means that we can use those
You can
machines
use it.
freely. Yeah, I don't want to have to wait for someone to get off the squat rack.
Hey man, you were talking earlier in the break about you train ladies football now, and what were you telling me about the routines and stuff that you do to help mitigate these types of injuries? Because it was
Yeah.
really interesting.
That's the biggest learning that should be taken away from all of this is how we adapt our training to prevent injuries and also enhance our performance. Because everything you do and everything you do in the rehab or the prehab in terms of injury prevention aids your sporting performance. So that's the big seller for people, right? And that was the great thing for me coming back from injury. It was like, shit, I'm quick again because I'm deadlifting heavy weights, I'm squatting heavy weights, I'm doing a lot of hamstring exercises and doing a lot of quad exercises. I'm really strengthening my calves because they're all the things that can protect me, right? So they're going to enhance my performance. But also we should be thinking that in the prehab perspective of training not to get injured, particularly if you have a weakness, right? So I say that whether you've not had injury before, but also if you have had injury and you don't want to have another injury. So even after you've rehabbed and returned to sport, your training should be adapted, right? So what we do with the women's team that our coaches will do in our warm-up is we'll do accelerating running and then sudden deceleration. So it'd be like, build into that. We go, right, sprint, go, stop, shout stop, and they have to stop as quickly as possible, right? So they're doing that consciously, and then when a game happens, they're better prepared in their mind and their bodies to adapt to the situation. What happens when someone sticks their leg out in front of them or someone gives them a shove in the back, their bodies are better prepared for those situations. So
It's that mind-muscle thing, isn't it?
yes,
That's exactly what you're trying to do. You're trying to
Yeah.
collate those together so
Yeah.
the body reacts as it should react.
And that's the final phase of rehab that often people skip. It's going, right, well, the muscles are strong enough now. Right now I need to activate them in the scenarios of which they're going to be tested because you lose that. And even actually with a ruptured ACL, you've actually lost a communicator from your leg to your head because the nerves have disappeared. So you got to retrain your brain to then operate without that signal there.
That happened with my hip replacement.
Right, yeah.
Because they go in the side of the glute for probably 6 or 8 months after surgery, doing squats, because I was rehabbing with Danny. It felt like it wasn't connecting, like the mind-muscle thing.
Yeah.
Like I knew in my head what I wanted to achieve,
Yeah.
but the muscles weren't doing what I wanted them to do, and it was a disconnection. And it felt really, really weird. And it took, as I said, 6 to 8 months for that to finally start connecting back up again.
Yeah.
And for everything to flow and work as you thought. It was a weird experience. It was very weird. But I understand the reason why. I mean, they've cut into you. They've severed nerves and to do what they need to do. And it's just a pure healing process for the body to get back to where it should be. You know, so yeah, weird experience, and I can fully understand anybody that's going through that.
Yeah. And so an interesting bit about it as well is like that you asked me about the time frame. So I played my first football match 4.5 months after after my injury, and that's quite an aggressive timeline.
Well, from what we've talked about, it's very
on
aggressive.
that. But for me, it was also important to keep aggressively stepping up. So it's like a set of stairs, right? Your rehab process, your recovery process is, as much as you don't want to take 4 steps at a time and fall down the stairs or fall on your face, right? You also don't want to stop on a stair, because then you look down, you look around, and you get a bit anxious, right? So for me, that was actually the perfect time frame, because I was doing all the steps and then wasn't waiting. If I'd sat there waiting and I went from, strengthening to then jumping to running to pivoting to doing the stuff we're talking about training the brain in terms of, landing and change direction and stuff, like jumping off heights and then sprinting in another direction, like do all that stuff. But then if you go, okay, well, I'll wait another 2 months till I play football, builds stress. Whereas that constant progression and like building those endorphins and momentum in your trust in your body, you got to be continuous, I think, with that. Whereas when you go, I've done all the work now, and I was lucky because I came back the same season I was injured, because I got injured in the first game of the season. So I played the last 4 games of our season. So I was able to kind of take that leap of faith after I was like, return to full training. Right, 2 weeks later, well, I might just play a match. Like, why not? Like, if I can train, I can play. And I wasn't playing at full percent, and I was pretty crap. And I still remember the first game back being like quite upset, because I was like, why do I have to experience this, feeling anxious and feeling all those feelings on the football pitch? But it was also, I was like, well, I've done that now, and I got through it, and my body was fine, and now's the next step. What's the next step? What's the next step? So for me now, it's like, I've started the new season. We played our first match of the season last week, got a 3-1 victory against the team that I ruptured my ACL against the previous season. So like, it was a nice alignment, full circle there in terms of last season. I played the first game against them, ruptured my ACL, got subbed off, and this time come back and was able to play the full game and beat them and be part of that. And then this week can really feel like, I've actually had a little hamstring niggle that I've just got over, so looking forward to the next game now, and pretty much playing about that fear, which there's phases to it. I think went through the last one was building that neuro activation going on there, and then you have a period where you're still scared. Big bit for me was keep saying yes to stuff. So we did in the off season, there was this 8-a-side competition that came up at Monash University, and it's like, suddenly I'm going to be playing against young people and going to twist and turn a bit quicker than the old buggers that I play against. Got to keep saying yes. Is my knee okay? Yes. Do I say yes to the opportunity? Yes. Do it. The moment you start saying no to stuff and you start protecting yourself, that's where I think it gets dicey. So being really brave and aggressive sounds like reckless, but I've just gone fuck it to everything. Yes. Even this week, literally been talking to our manager. I was playing in our Division 2 team, and he was like, one of the other guys has pulled out. Do you want to play for our Div 1 team? And I know the pace is a bit faster in that team. I know it's a high level of competition. The other team are going to be more physical than the team I'd be playing against Division 2. And it's like, I could just sit in Division 2 and keep going. Now you got to be fucking say yes to stuff. That's what life's about, right? I know this whole podcast is about,
how to live a better life.
Attack life. Fuck it.
Mate, your message is clear. And what I'm getting from it is positive, because I know how hard it can be for a lot of people struggling with their injuries.
Yeah.
People get depressed. They feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. And for you to come out and your attitude to be positive, keep building, is admirable. But it doesn't always happen that way with a lot of people. And you've talked about mental illness on one of your podcasts.
Yeah.
And it's a real thing. Yep. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
You look at life and how hard that can be, and then it compounds with an injury. Luckily for me, I've had enough of these scenarios to know that there's a way out. There's a process. As you say, you got to stay positive. You got to keep your chin up. Sometimes it's very hard, But when you surround yourself with people like physios and doctors and listen to podcasts like yourself or whatever to keep you positive, because and the gym, of course, Danny and like he helped me through my rehab, and just that looking forward to having that person to help me through what I was going through on a daily, weekly basis, knowing that he's there to help me to help myself to get back to where I need to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's prevalent. The mental health thing, guys are the fucking worst. We all know that. We don't talk about stuff. We bottle it up.
Yeah.
But it's good that more people are talking about it, and how we're affected by it, whether we realise it or not.
Yeah.
You know, you yourself have been very positive, but I'm sure there's been days when you've just gone, fuck.
Yeah.
Am I ever going to play again? Because
should I have played? Because it's your choice again, which makes it even harder. It's not like I've got someone knocking on my shoulder going, "Come on, Tim, we need you back in the team." Your team forget about you pretty easily if you're not there.
Well, as you say, that's how you can fall through the cracks. That's how you can fall through the cracks. Yeah, and then you've got your family to help support you, and as you say, if you've got a young child, and there's everybody's got priorities, everybody's got a job to do.
Yeah.
And as you say, some people can fall through the cracks, and it happens that easily.
Yeah.
But I think the one message is that there's a lot of services out there. Get your tribe around you. Get the people that are going to help you get back on your feet, and just know that it's a portion of your journey, of your life, that hopefully never happens again. But if it does happen again, like with you, you're going to learn from it. This is you've had 2 injuries, one surgical, one non-surgical, and you've had both sides of the coin, and you've learnt and you've grown, and I hope it never happens to you again. But surely in the back of your mind, you've got to have something. You've got to have a little bit of a niggle that maybe it will happen, but you've got the tools to help manage it and help deal with that if it ever does going forward. So my question to you: if you got injured again this season, and it was an ACL injury, how would that impact you going forward?
Yeah.
Knowing what you know right now today.
Yeah. Yeah, everything you said is absolutely bang on. And that fear is like, that's something you've got to address and deal with, right? I say that it's really important to have people around you and find those people around you. And there definitely won't always be the ones that you expect to be around them, because it's very difficult for people to understand the impact of an injury that is quite hard to, you can't really see. It's not visible. It's not like a broken leg or a broken neck or head injury. And you're kind of walking again and doing whatever again, and to a lot of people like, oh, at least you can walk, you can do that. I had a guy that asked me to help him move a cabinet when I just ruptured my ACL, and because it's not visible, right? But the 2 things I'd say that you've always got to find, and will not be instant, like, don't be hard on yourself and go, why haven't I got these already? But you got to find a purpose. You got to redefine your purpose, right? If sport's a big thing for you, or running, or just going for a jog or whatever is a big thing for you, you've lost a bit of your purpose in life, right? And that hurts psychologically. So you need to really spend a lot of time, whether it's talking to someone else, and I encourage people. And one thing that I came very close to but never did was get professional help, to see either a sports psychologist or just psychologist, depending on where you're at. Is find a purpose, or what your purpose is again after that. It's like realigning your goals is huge when you get a major injury. You got to go from, and for me, this is where I was at, and I think it's quite a common narrative. We had a really good team last season, and I wanted to go win our league, right? And I was like, starting lineup for that team, and I was like, we've got, I'm good enough to be in the team, and we've got a chance of going to win the league. And then that got taken away from me. And also for me, football, because I'm not from Australia, football for me is a big way of connecting with, making friends and building those relationships with the guys I play with.
Simulation, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's huge for me. And then to me go, you don't need to be here on Friday night, Tim. Like, you're injured. Go do your rehab or spend time with your family, which I fucking love my family, right? But we all need that extra thing in our life that can give us a break from work and our family and make us appreciate them more and stuff. So for me to lose that was a big thing, and to not be needed in that space where I really saw a lot of purpose was a big one. So it was kind of going, well, now what's my challenge and what's my purpose? And I actually was seeing a career coach at the time, not necessarily a new job, but I came across someone who, they were a director at a company, and I was like, it was a good opportunity to speak to someone who knows a lot and probably has some good connections. And we constantly talked about, from work perspective, purpose. And I was like, not really relating to this so much from work level, but from a personal level, I was like, I'm really lacking that right now. I've got a young kid, and I'm in a country that I still don't really necessarily always feel like's home. And I had to scrutinize, what's my purpose? What am I getting out of bed for, beyond the stuff I had to do, the stuff I wanted to do, the extra layer of stuff that was me, the time for me and the passion for me. And that was football. And then that's what kind of draw me to, like, I could speak to people about this as a podcast, and I can also go for a rehab perspective. I'm going to prove this can work by training so hard and pushing my body so hard, and nailing the leg extension machine like no one else is doing, and building all my muscles up in a way that's going to make my leg capable of coping without an ACL. And I'm going to come back stronger. I'm going to come back better. I'm going to come back this season. And I re-identified my purpose. And that's probably what saved me from needing to, not that it should ever be anything that we shy away from or not want, but going to see someone for supporting my mental health, because I wasn't in a great place. But I found a pathway that I could then identify with, and that gave me a buzz. And I kept buzzing over it. The idea of creating this podcast, this idea of also simultaneously achieving what I was discussing and getting my body to that position where I could go and play without an ACL and come back stronger. That was my mission. Still also had the ringing in my ear, the guy that stood over me and said, "I didn't touch you, get up." So I'd always push me through that final set in the gym, and had that purpose. And then the pathway for me was, I wanted to get back and playing for my team. I really love my teammates. I'm part of the leadership team in my club. And I started working we've got two teams, our Division 1 team and our Division 2 team. And I started coaching our Division 2 team. So I was able to channel my passion for still playing by working with them, and really loved. I went from, I was always drinking on the sidelines watching the first team, and then I went, I'm going to go on to the second team and watch them play. And because I was normally playing for our first team when I got injured. And then I was like, these guys are great, but they probably need they could probably do a bit of support and help. So I kind of chucked myself into that and started coaching them, and they responded really well to it and got some good results. And I absolutely loved it. And I was like, another purpose I found from putting myself out there and putting myself into an uncomfortable space. It's something I've always fundamentally believed in as a person, saying yes as often as possible. If it doesn't put you in danger and it kind of excites you, say yes, right? Don't say no to stuff, even if it is a pain in the arse or you're not sure if you like it or not. Just say yes, give life a go, and you'll grow. And so that was the kind of approach I did, and that's what I encourage people to, when you lose something, is say yes to stuff and try stuff. And there'll be stuff you'll go along to, and you'll be like, oh, this is shit, I'm not doing this again. But it's better than sitting at home watching another inane Netflix series that you don't really like. So that's the big bit for me. And the pathway was, going to the gym I enjoy going to. You got to get those bits right as well. It's not just about having a purpose and saying yes stuff. It's about finding the right things. So I found that environment. I had my football team, getting around them. So that was my pathway and my motivation. And then rediscovering them was all the key for me to then get to the point where I got back to playing again, because I was motivated and I was able to keep pushing myself, because that's the biggest danger with rehab. You lose motivation along the way, particularly with a long-term injury. And I got back to playing 4 games in the final season. And at the end of the season, I ended up winning. We do awards at the end of seasons, every club does. And the lads voted me like Clubman of the Year, which was a really nice kind of feeling to know that I'd been able to give something back, even though I couldn't in the way I'd wanted to. I didn't win the league. We didn't win the league. I was kind of glad they didn't win the league without me. But hopefully we'll win it this year with me. I was able to contribute and able to feel proud of myself again, which is the big bit when you lose something like that. you lose that sense of worth and rediscovering that. But you got to go grab it again. It's hard and you feel shit for a while, but eventually you'll find those opportunities. You find days when you're feeling good, and don't feel bad when you don't. The good one that I kind of feel is like, feel sad, use it, work out. Feel angry, fucking use that and work out for sure. Find the stuff. There was a good phrase someone said, I was watching the AFL last night, and they're saying about keeping receipts, the stuff people say to you, or the moments you feel shit, and how we're meant to, particularly as men, we're meant to suppress them and ignore them. Nah, fucking use them. Use them. Motivate them to you in the gym. Motivate you in your training session when you don't want to train. Use all that as your strength, because otherwise you just got your injury. So yeah, whatever you can do to motivate yourself, whatever you can do to drive yourself, but you need a purpose. You need to identify that. What am I going to do with myself for the next 4 months, 9 months, whatever, how long you're injured? Where do I want to be in that period of time? Until you identify that, you are going to feel sad and depressed because you have lost a lot.
Mate, that was beautifully said. I couldn't have said it any better, but as we were just talking, it sums up everything about mentally what people go through, and especially males go through when they've had an injury, and how to deal with it. And as you say, you've just got to put your big boy pants on and prioritise stuff, and then just hit those targets. And for me, as I get older, you're a spring chicken. As I get older and I have these injuries, the number one thing, and as you realise how much time you've got left, I equate it to, well, how many more snowboard trips have I got? How many more days on the boat? How many more summers? How many more winters?
Yeah.
So I understand my injury's a bit of a speed bump, but I understand that it's part of the journey, and I'm going to do everything I can do to get myself back to the best it can possibly be. Now, health and fitness, mental, physical, it's more important than it's ever been in my life. I've done a lot of crazy shit. I've road raced motorbikes, I've jumped out of plane, I've done everything.
Yeah.
And as I said, for me, equating that time left and making sure that I'm in the pristine condition to enjoy those years that I've got is most important for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's your journey, right? Like that's when it becomes less pitying, dare I say, when you go, your challenge doesn't relate to everyone else's, right? I say comparison's the thief of joy, right? Like, your situation is your situation. You get an injury, your challenge is reframed to how you deal with that situation, not how other people are achieving in life, not how the professional sports athlete that you aspire to be is achieving, as much as it's good to set your goals. But like, you got to remotivate yourself based on where you are really at, and all you can do is improve yourself day by day based on that. And for me, like, I always think, well, now if I go score this weekend, score a goal, right, it's going to mean so much more to me than the guy that's never had injury, right? And I'll appreciate it so much more because I've achieved way more than that guy. Because that guy's been injury-free, born with natural talent, played for West Ham for a few years before he got released, and he's probably hanging on to that issue rather than, and he's probably not even enjoy scoring this weekend. Where for me, been through a lot of challenges physically, injury-wise, and it's about going back to your own challenge. You can only achieve relative to your own situation, right? And there's no point comparing yourself to other people. It's just doing your best to get the best out of your own body.
Well, as you say, that reward of scoring a goal is going to be earned.
Yeah.
It's going to be earned. A big thing I say is you don't know until you know. And sometimes you've got to have these blips in the radar and these little speed bumps to know not just yourself physically, but mentally, and how everything works together, in unison, for you to be a better person, better dad, better player, better boss, better employee, whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
And as I said, sometimes you've got to have these incidents and accidents to figure out exactly how you fit into this whole fucking crazy scheme.
Yeah.
We're just sitting on a big rock that's fucking hurtling around the universe or hurting around the sun, and it's crazy when you think about it. But as you say, everybody's individual journey is different. There's not a one shoe or one one-fit-all scenario, especially when we're talking with the ACL. It was really interested in understanding exactly what the injuries were, who's getting them, why they're getting them, and alternatives to, as you say, to surgery, because there's a lot of people profiting from surgery. And I honestly don't think that's going to change. There's a lot of things in this world that run on the smell of money. Like it or not, it is what it is. Your podcast is great, and I wish you all the success. I hope you do get. What was the guest that you really wanted to get on? The footballer,
Alou Diarra.
Have you gone down that road yet? Have you emailed him, DM'd him, tried to?
Yeah, tried to hit him up on social media, but he's like not using any of his accounts. I think he's an under-19s coach in France now. So yeah, if anyone can help, that'll be good. Have you ever seen the documentary Searching for Sugar Man?
No. Oh yes, Rodriguez.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Yeah. I should create one for Searching for Alou Diarra. I'm not sure it's quite as poignant, but
look, all we need is two plane tickets to France.
Yeah, we could do that.
A mic and a
I think
camera.
it might be Cairns as well that he's coaching in, so we could do that.
Would your wife mind if we buggered off for a little bit?
Don't think so.
No, I'm sure she'll be fine. Give a shout out to your lovely wife.
Yeah. To be fair, it should do, because huge part in my journey and recording this podcast. We've got a young little lad at home, Sebi, who's she's had to do probably a bit more parenting than she would have had otherwise, because I've been recording podcasts and in the gym all the time. So those people around you are huge. Yeah.
Oh, for sure, that support. I mean, that should be the case. They love you no matter what.
Yeah. And they love you for being like a person with passion. I always think, don't apologize for your passions.
Well, I think
apologize for being 3 hours recording a podcast. Maybe.
I'm sure when she listens back to this, she'll understand why. Why you're doing what you're doing. And you are doing a great job. You're raising awareness. You're getting people to ask questions. You're getting people to question authority, because I'll tell you what, that's the one thing I've never done through my existence is accept what the status quo is. I've always asked questions or said, no, I don't believe that that's the case.
Yeah.
Which is what you're doing. But you're talking to the right people. You're getting the right information out there. So I thank you for doing that. And I'm sure our listeners should be listening to what you're producing on your podcast, because you've got some great guests and you've got some great insight. So good luck with that, mate. All the best. If you need to know anything about podcasting, don't ask me, because we're just whistling Dixie here. We're just having some fun, drinking some beers.
Oh, this is amazing.
You've
had some great guests as well. I've really enjoyed listening to your episodes.
As I said, we've been really lucky. It's all been very organic. The one thing we have not done is stand on a soapbox and said, "Hey, look at us. We're trying to build something organically here. We're trying to give back in some way that we can, but we're not making a big song and dance about it. As I said, it's not about the money. It's about giving back to the community. And if somebody takes away from this podcast, as they've taken away from any of our other podcasts, some bit of information that is useful to them, I'm happy. That's what makes me happy. And in life, you got to do stuff that makes you happy, as you know. So is there one message that you want to leave our guests with today?
Yes, but I do want to say actually about the financial drivers. The interesting bit is with the surgical industry that the health insurance providers will be the people that push back on this, in terms of they don't want to pay surgeons to keep doing surgery if it's unnecessary. And that's probably actually where not that I'm advocating for anything or pushing a narrative, but like that should be, if there's a sector that has a financial driver, right? The health insurance organisations should be questioning that when people come to them, say, I've ruptured my ACL and I've been told I need surgery. They should be going, have you tried the non-active pathway? Have you tried this healing process? And I didn't add as well, another bit into this, and one of the big motivations for me investigating this was in Scandinavia, that it's more common for them to try rehab first before surgery. So that probably comes to the wrap-up message, right, is like, you're going to get, when you rupture ACL, if you rupture ACL, you're going to get certain messaging around you need to have surgery if you want to return to the activity you were previously doing. So I guess what I'd want people to do is get the right referral pathway to help them make the right decision. So see a physio, go to see a doctor, get your MRI scan, get that MRI scan sent to your physio and your doctor, consult both of them to make a decision, and then do some research as well about non-operative pathways. What one's right to you, what one's right based on your injury, your circumstances, your aspirations. And do plenty of research, because surgery isn't the only option, regardless of what you want to do the rest of your life.
Well, I think the message today, as you say, it's not the only option. And that's the thing with a lot of things in life. You do have options available to you. So it's about researching them and getting the knowledge and weighing up what is best for you. Mate, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. We learnt a lot. Thank you very much. We wish you all the best with your podcast. And maybe we'll see you back here again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's a wrap, Mav. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in and for your time. You know the vibe, I'm steady living until I die. It's a loose state of mind, and we showed you that. Keep it authentic and real, I hope you coming back. Hey, make sure that you subscribe, cause we got it popping all the time, and it's going down. If you wanna elevate, wanna live a better life, keep it locked here. You know it's a loose state of mind, let's go.